Hello, my friends. Thanks once again for joining us here on Kardec Radio for another edition of Spiritism, a closer look. And tonight, in this program, we are going to take a closer look at heredity. It's a long subject, so we are going to do more like an overview because we could go very deeply on this subject. So, uh, we want to get to, we want to be able to answer to this question: what is the Spiritist view on heredity? That would be the goal for this program. A few things. Heredity, by the way, being defined as this passing on of traits from parents to their offspring. That's what it means. And heritable traits are known by science, proved, known by science, to be passed on from one generation to the next via DNA, which is nothing more than, in simple terms, of course, molecular structure that encodes genetic information. So genetic material is passed on through this DNA. In our cells, each one of our cells, each one of us, we carry these long strands of DNA. They form these condensed structures, and these are called chromosomes. These chromosomes, you've seen pictures of these things. It's like an X, a big X, formed by two long strands of DNA. And these chromosomes are divided into little tiny parts or segments, if you will. Each one of them is called a gene. So this is, in terms of science, biology, a very simple definition of heredity, or how science approaches the subject. The chromosomes from the two parents, okay, when they get together, egg and sperm, they go through a fusion process, and the offspring cells acquire the genetic information of the parents. That's the inheritance. So I spoke about this fusion process from between egg and sperm. Let's take a better look at this thing. To think about it, sperms, they they swim towards the egg. So around the egg, a lot of sperms are trying to penetrate the egg, but only one of them do. For the one that does, okay, so they are on the outer membrane of the egg, and this particular one gets in. It goes through the membrane and gets in, and it's gonna it's gonna go to the center of the egg. The time that it takes for the, let's call, winning sperm to go from the membrane to the center is about 4 minutes. That's the time it takes. When it gets to the center of the egg, there's gonna be a fusion of both protoplasms. This fusion, of course, this is not like this, it's a process. It takes about 15 minutes. So we have 4 minutes, which is the time that the sperm takes to go from the membrane once it crosses in all the way to the center, plus 15 minutes of fusion time between the two protoplasms. During the fusion time, during the 15 minutes where the fusion is taking place, that's when the incarnating spirit launches a fluidic tie, which is nothing more than an extension of his her perispirit. So it launches this fluidic tie into that one first cell, the zygote. That's conception. And the spirits define very clearly to us. That's where life starts, life begins. Right there, during that time, when the fluidic tie is launched towards the new formed first cell. From that point on, multiple processes of division will take place. Some are direct division, also called amitosis, or mitosis, which is indirect division. So there's going to be a process, of course, which develops into what we call the embryo, then the fetus, and then the baby, if you will. So the whole thing is about the fusion. That's the information that we are concentrating on from the spiritist point of view, because things happen in there, and that's what's going to explain what is the spiritist view on the subject. So the first, I think the first question would be something around these lines. Is heredity merely physical, or does it have a spiritual component? Well, let's think about this for a little bit. Physical, yes, of course. We're talking about cells and DNA and proteins. These are physical things. These are material things. These are things that take place in the material realm. So the source of the physical first cell is physical material coming from the mother and the father. It's a combination of DNA. So that's fine. So we know it's physical in this aspect. Now, is heredity also does it also have a spiritual component? Well, let's consider a few things here. First of all, as a result of the physical connection or fusion of the two protoplasms, there's inheritance. So things, certain things, we're going to use a better word in a minute, but things are passed on from one generation to another, from the parents to the offspring. However, and these will include, for example, color of hair, eyes, and skin, different things, but they are all physical things. They are all things that are part of a material life. Now, things such as moral values, for example, intelligence, it's another one, intellectual values, these are not at all inheritable. They're not passed on through the genes. For example, a morally advanced mother or a father or both, it does not guarantee that the offspring is also going to be morally advanced, because moral values, intellectual values do not get passed on this way. So behavior, whether it's good or bad, can and will be learned, but it doesn't get passed through or passed on through the genes. So, is there a spiritual component to heredity? It's getting more complicated, because how come a son or a daughter has certain characteristics of behavior that might be the same as the father and mother, but it doesn't happen at the physical level? So there's a lot more to this. Morality and intelligence, both of them, right? They do not have any material element as their source. This morality and intelligence, intellectuality, it will come from the spirit. So the spirit restores its past. at least in part. So it's something similar to a download using computer language. So the spirit has its history from day one, from simple and ignorant. The spirit has a history, which is available to be downloaded, at least in part. And that is solely property. So morality and intelligence are solely properties, assets of the spirit. It is not passed along. Here's a simple example. Twins, same exact genetic code at conception, but different behavior. So the zygote contains the heredity asset. However, from the physiological only point of view, just physiological, genes define solely the anatomy. They do not carry moral values, moral behavior, intellectual content, nothing like this. After the fusion of the two protoplasms, as we spoke earlier, there will be magnetic operations that will slowly, really slowly, you got 15 minutes, that's a long time for things like this. So magnetic operations slowly fixate bits of chromatin to build the chromosomes with a target in mind. Meaning, that period during the fusion is the period where the genetic code that in principle comes straight from the combination of the two protoplasms will be changed if needed. It's not so simple, there's more to it. More advanced spirits will be granted the ability to rewrite their genes during that time. So their DNA could be adjusted for the purpose of that incarnation, that life. Only morally or more advanced spirits, morally and intellectually. So the incarnating spirit projects onto the cells which are being formed. So it projects throughout the entire body the mental state, which could be more or less superior according to their level of evolution. And this is done, the mental state is put into each cell through something that we have in each cell, several of them, called biophores. These biophores reside inside the cytoplasm of each cell. And that is what's going to bring the spiritual content into the cells. And will, if the spirit is advanced enough and granted the ability to do so, it will rewrite the genes. So there are certain things that are still to this day strange to science. You have a mother and a father, for example, that will, let's just say, should produce a certain color of the eye on their offspring. And the color of the eye completely beats the law of genetics. We can't explain. There are several of these cases. But now we know why. Because it's not only a plain straight combination of the contents of the genes in the two protoplasms. The incarnating spirits and the spirits that are helping that spirit to incarnate, the mentors and everybody that is making that happen, they will participate with magnetic forces. So the genes are influenced at that time, the fusion, the genes are influenced by the mental forces of the incarnating spirit. So the minute that the spirit launches its fluidic tie into the first cell, it becomes the owner of the first cell. Owner in the sense that we own things. It's mine now. So if that spirit is morally, intellectually advanced, you will be granted the ability to rewrite their genes for the purpose of that incarnation. On the other hand, less advanced spirits are held captive of their mother and father's genes. They cannot change, they cannot edit, they can't do anything at all. The mental patterns of the mother, once pregnancy starts, the mental pattern of the mother will influence the reincarnating spirit's intrauterine life. And it can favor a state which is more or less happiness driven. So a mother that is, has a very negative state of mind will bring that state into the realm where the reincarnating spirit is living, which is the intrauterine life. You will impact. By the same token, mental activities and psychological states of the mother impact the environment for the reincarnating spirit. So at times, we know, we spoke about this in at least a couple of talks before. We know that each one of us, every spirit, goes through a stage or through a phase, better saying, of preparation for the incarnation in the spirit world before coming over. Preparing the incarnation, going through what am I going to do, what's going to be my purpose, how am I going to do this thing. And there are several highly evolved spirits helping them. Each one of us, we went through this before coming over here. So the spirit, the incarnating spirit, gets to the point that in spirit, they know their father, they know their mother. So, and he has to, the spirit, the incarnating spirit has to agree with the mother and father and the conditions and so on and so on. So what might happen at times, and it does happen a lot, by the way, the spirit comes in and it's expected to be in a certain environment. So mother is having her life, father is having his life. They get together, and by the time that the conception is going to take place, the environment that was expected is no longer what it should be. Let's say, for example, mother and father are, let's just say, fighting like crazy as a couple. Mother got into drugs, so there's a good chance that you will damage the physical body, the brain or something in the incarnating spirit. So the incarnating spirit has the free will to back up. I'm not going. In physical terms, in our material life, it means spontaneous abortion, involuntary abortion. The spirit, left the building. And that explains this influence of the mother's mental state on the spirit's mental state in intrauterine life. Explains why some children are born anxious, nervous, others are not, restless, others are not. So there are times, and I'm sure we all know or heard about it. Let's say a mother has two different pregnancies. So has a first newborn, then say 2 years later, another one. And the two pregnancies could be completely different in terms of the mothers going through it. One could be a very nice, very simple, very quiet, and loving pregnancy. The other could be very complicated, very difficult, very troublesome, very demanding in terms of physical health from the mother, because it's not only genetic code. The incarnating spirit brings its history, at least in part. So, let's wrap up this a little bit. According to the principles of genetics, heredity is an untouchable truth, but not so fast. Interference of spiritual factors can give the spirit a new mental habitat. The influence of the mother, or the environment where the mother is having this pregnancy taking place, the mental state of the incarnating spirit also impacts the mother. That's why some pregnancies are difficult, some are not. Some pregnancies, the mother will complain the whole 9 months. Oh, I'm feeling, I'm feeling movements. I feel bad. I feel nausea all the time. And the other pregnancy, let's say 2 years before or 1 year before, wasn't anything like that. So physical fusion of two protoplasms does not explain that. It has to do with the spirit. If the incarnating spirit is accompanied by adversaries of the past, it can create unpleasant reactions for the mother. Nightmares, phobias, nauseas, weird habits, and even things, or very serious things such as postpartum depression. So, that's how the spiritual level influences on pregnancy and or heredity. Now, on the other hand, if the reincarnating spirit is accompanied by good spirits, highly evolved spirits, it will cause the mother to be on a different state of mind altogether, very full of hope, superior emotions, vivacity, euphoria, completely different than the other case. Now, how many people or how many cases don't we know or heard about mothers that have two different pregnancies, one very pleasant and one not so much? So Spiritism explains that. So for us to just close what we're saying here, is there a component, a spiritual component to heredity? The definition of heredity is in the physical realm, in a material life. So based on that definition that comes from science, biology, and so on and so, then there is nothing spiritual on it. But we know better now. Spiritism gives us a very clear picture of what it is. And this is in several different Spiritist books, such as Evolution in Two Worlds by Spirit, André Luiz, Missionaries of the Light, also by Spirit, André Luiz. There's other literature, Spiritist literature, that will discuss genetics, heredity at length. Spirit Emmanuel, several of them too. So this is what I wanted to bring to you tonight. Thanks for being part of the program. Spiritism, a closer look. We'll be here again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'll see you then. Thanks so much. Be well.